in our panel now. NewsNation's Tracy Walder is a former CIA officer and FBI special agent. And Mick Mulvaney is a NewsNation political contributor who served as a White House chief of staff in President Trump's first term. Great to have you both here. Mick, I want to start with you because I've got a couple political questions. We had this late-breaking news today that the DOJ is now investigating Governor Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly obstructing law enforcement. Governor Walz releasing a statement just moments ago saying the DOJ is investigating everyone except the agent who shot Renee Good. What do you make of this development?
Look, I think you can make the case that you should make a case that a governor of a state is not above the law, period, end of story. A mayor of a major city is not above the law, period, end of story. The ICE agents are not above the law, period, end of story. My understanding is there is an investigation going on into the shooting. It might not be done by the DOJ. So I guess Tim Walz's statement might be factually correct, but it doesn't mean there's not an investigation. What I hope we can get to, though, and you know I've talked about this before, Elizabeth, is enough transparency in these investigations so that people can have a comfort level that they're fair and accurate and they're not pre-cooked and that they're not being used for political purpose. I want to know what actually happened. I want to know who was in the wrong. I want to know what was legally justified. I want to know what was moral in this particular circumstance. I'm like everybody else. I'm watching this on TV. There might be a handful of people watching it in person in Minneapolis, but we rely on our government to give us good information, and I hope they do that here.
Well, Mick, I think what the governor is referring to is the fact that the FBI has announced, and Todd Blanche announced they're not investigating the ICE agents' actions. They are instead investigating the widow of the woman who was shot. And then, of course, when we talk about transparency, the FBI is cutting out state and local officials in this investigation. That's why these prosecutors all resigned en masse, is because they weren't investigating the agent, they were investigating the widow of the woman shot.
Yeah, and if somebody's complaint is that's simply going to undermine the credibility of whatever the Department of Justice puts out, they're right. I mean, let's be honest with each other. We've got to get to the point where people can trust their government again, right? Roughly a third of the country right now has already made up their mind. They don't care what these investigations show. Another third on the far left feel the same way. But there is a rational group of people in the middle who actually want to know what happened, and I hope the government can provide that.
And then finally, another political question, Mick, before Tracy, I'll get to you. We just heard Gregory Bavino tell Allie Bradley that the ICE operations are peaceful. The DHS secretary said on camera they're doing everything correctly. There are now hundreds of viral videos showing ICE agents that are not acting peacefully. Axios reports today that even President Trump doesn't like the way this looks. One advisor says it looks bad. There's a right way to do this, and this doesn't look like the right way to a lot of people.
Yeah, legal, ethical, and moral. Look, protesting peacefully is legal, ethical, and moral. That's not the issue here when it comes to the politics of it. The politics of it is exactly what you've just mentioned. How does it look? And what it looks like is the government shooting people. And we can't be there. We need to get to a point where someone figures out a way to de-escalate this. Because I got to tell you, I'm sad to say this, Elizabeth. It gives me no happiness to say this. My fear is that you and I are going to be having a conversation about this in 2 weeks that's even worse than what we've talked about before.
I sure hope not. Tracy, as a former federal agent yourself, how do you think these ICE agents are handling themselves? This is a very tense, very tough situation. It can be really hard to keep your cool.
It absolutely can be really hard to keep your cool. And one of the things that is problematic about this, and it is well known and well reported, that a lot of the training, not of this particular ICE agent, but a lot of the training of the ICE agents has been significantly shortened from about 16 weeks, to about 4 to 6 weeks. That is highly problematic. I spent a good 10-ish weeks or more at Quantico being trained in situational awareness, being put in uncomfortable situations, being put in hectic, stressful situations. And I fear that they are not getting a lot of that, hence why we are seeing some of this incredibly aggressive activity.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.